Welcome back to Comics with Drew. I'm Drew, and today I'm going to do a more in-depth review of Hank Howard, Pizza Detective in Caligula's Safe. Now, if you've been following my social media, at least on last Wednesday, you will see that I could not seem to shut up about this book. And it's not because Bad Idea was paying me, it's because as a comic book fan, I wanted people to have a shot to go out and buy this book when it was super cheap and easily available. So if you have a local comic shop that is affiliated with Bad Idea, this book was available at that comic shop for $1 on Wednesday. So New Comic Wednesday, you roll up in there, you find it, and the idea is, oh, this looks cool, let me pick this up. And it's only $1. Why not? Give it a shot. Now, the reason why I think that you should have bought this book is because I read it, and in an age where we have streaming services starving for new content, this kind of book has the kind of stuff that will get optioned for a TV show or a movie in absolutely no time. So it's a steal to buy the book. It's a great book. And that's why I wouldn't stop talking about it on social media. So now that being said, you can no longer buy the book in stores. You can only buy it on eBay, and you're going to pay a lot more than $1 for it. Right now, it's actually kind of going for pretty affordable rates for a comic, obviously. It's going for anywhere between 10 and 30 bucks. If you can buy the book, buy it, because I'm going to tell you right now, 10 years from now, you're going to want to have this book. You will be very glad 10 years from now that you bought this book. So the reason for that is that it's not just Hank Howard, Pizza Detective, in this story or in this comic. There's actually a B story called Safe Now, which is a really great superhero science fiction idea. It's a great premise, and it's also another 8-page story. So we have two 8-page stories. We have the 8-page main story, and then we have the B story, and then we also have like a 1-page kind of character sheet introduction of another character. It's kind of like a C story. So it's really a lot of action-packed stuff here. You know, a lot of times people will say, this book is action-packed. Let me tell you what, this is the kind of content I'm here for. This is the kind of content that you're going to want to read. So that being said, I'm going to do a little bit more of an in-depth review. I'm not going to show you the entire thing. You can't buy it in stores. So if you're buying it on eBay. There's not really much to, hinder you from reading the whole book online or whatnot, but I have ethics. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a taste of it. The book starts off with, like I said, Hank Howard, Pizza Detective in Caligula Safe, and it is a black and white book. And now one of the things I love, Robert Venditti here and David Lapham, they are not interested in being fancy, okay? They are just interested in telling you a good story and giving you a great comic book. There's nothing that is, super flashy here. It's just a noir comic, and it's meant for people who enjoy reading good stories. And I love that about that. The art is black and white. There are no halftones. It is gorgeous, balls to the wall, in your face, classic comic art. And I can't tell you how amazing this is. So it starts off, help wanted, corporate detective. We have the indicia. You should always read this from a Bad Idea comic because they always put a joke in it. So, and in this particular case, they make a joke about the fact that this comic is good for one individual pineapple lover's pan pizza. Now, I already actually challenged Venditti about this back in the day, about a month or so ago when they announced that he was doing a pizza book. And I said, man, just as long as there's no pineapple pizza in there. And he's like, yeah, pineapple pizza is the worst. And then boom, they turn right around in here and they say pineapple pizza. I'm like, yeah, that's not funny, guys. That's nothing to joke about. Pizza is very important to me. Anyway, getting to the book, the story, we have hand lettering. It was hot, Florida hot. As a native Floridian, I will tell you that there is nothing like Florida hot. They say it's hot out in Arizona, but that's dry heat. There's something different about the humid heat that you get in Florida. It is suffocating. Let me tell you what. So with that, we have the introduction. He's on the beach. It's hot and humid. It's Florida hot and humid. And he is going up into the store. Looks like we got a Caligula pizza place here. And there's a safe that's been broken open. And we have a close-up. Here's Hank Howard. And he is a pizza detective. And now we have a little bit of a background on the second page. It talks about how he came to be a pizza detective, which is basically he's a private eye, and they work on basically freelance jobs, so they don't really get steady income. And because of that, he saw that there was a want ad for a pizza detective, or actually a corporate detective for a pizza place, And you know what? They've got free pizza. So like you said, who doesn't like pizza? And next thing you know, he's rolling through folders for case files while he's munching on some pizza with a napkin. I mean, this guy's got it made, right? He is living the life. So the story with Caligula's safe here is that there was a safe that was broken into, and so now he's going to put the screws to all these different employees who he suspects are, robbing the story. He suspects it's an inside job. He really throws in a lot of the intimidation here, and we've got a teenage kid here who's he's clearly complexion challenged. And Hank is like, you know what? I'm not even going to take off my napkin, man. I'm eating this pizza, and I'm going to crack this case open, complete with my pizza napkin. So he looks like a moron, and, quite frankly, he probably is a moron. But whatever, it doesn't matter. The book is great. So there's only 8 pages to this book. You get a taste of what the art is like. The art is fantastic. The writing is great. We got hand lettering. You don't really see hand lettering anymore in comics, so it's kind of becoming like a bit of a lost art form. And that is Hank Howard, Pizza Detective. So he pretty much cracks the case very quickly. There's a bit of a plot twist there. But the next thing, though, is what I think is actually kind of, with respect to Robert Venditti, who's one of my favorite writers, and David Lapham, which has a great, solid book. This book alone, with just the Pizza Detective story, would be a great book. You could do a full Pizza Detective 22-page story. It would be awesome, and it would be fantastic. But this has a killer B story. The killer B story is Save Now, right? So when I got to the end of Pizza Detective, I saw this and I thought, oh, this looks like an ad for like a movie or a video game. It might as well be, because this is gonna wind up being a movie or video game. I'm guaranteeing that right now. I'm telling you right now, in this video, Save Now is going to be on a streaming service or a theater near you, probably in the next several years, and it may even be a video game, because it is freaking amazing. It's written by Matt Kent, Thomas Urello, and Diego Rodriguez are a part of the creative team. Matt Kent, as you know, is writing ENIAC. He's also writing Whalesville and Rocks and Minerals, which I will be reviewing. He also is more famously writing Berserker along with Keanu Reeves. And so all I have to say to that is, whoa, because Matt Kent is getting around and he's killing it. He really is. So Save Now is a book that really is about this character here called Saver. He's right here. And what Saver can do is, he's part of a superhero team here. He's got 3 other people that are part of his superhero team. You've got Deepfake, and then you've got Spear, and then you've got Numb, and you have Saver. Now, Saver, he can create save points in real life. And he can go back to those save points, and he can try to fix things Groundhog Day style, or kind of like The Edge of Tomorrow, that Tom Cruise movie. So if you're not familiar, everybody should be familiar with Groundhog Day. If you're not familiar with Groundhog Day, then after this video, immediately go watch it, because it's a classic. It's Bill Murray. And so those familiar or unfamiliar with that story, Bill Murray basically on Groundhog Day relives the entire day over and over and over again until somehow he finds a way of breaking the vicious cycle and gets out of it. In The Edge of Tomorrow, it's kind of similar, only it's like a video game kind of thing. So you're trying to finish a stage in a video game, you're trying to beat the boss. Edge of Tomorrow is very similar to that, where Tom Cruise continually dies every day until he remembers or figures out the best way to get through the obstacle and complete the military mission. So that being said, Saver is very similar to that, as he can, reset things. He can go back to a certain time and start over again. His comrades here, which we aren't really told too much about, there's not really much to know about Deepfake other than she's some organic AI, and then Spear is a really rich dude, kind of like Tony Stark or Bruce Wayne, and then we have Numb, who's indestructible and cannot feel pain, hence being numb. And these are the superhero team members, but then you have Saver, who kind of directs them. So kind of like the way Batman directs the Justice League, Saver is directing him, and the reason Saver's directing them is because Saver has already lived through the battle. So they go up to an encounter, and then they start fighting a monster like this one. So things go south, and then he goes back to the save point that he created right before the encounter, and then he will continually go back to the save point as they all die until they find out how to defeat the monster. And throughout this entire time here, throughout these initial pages, you're seeing these narration boxes where he's basically telling you what his powers are and how it works. And he's telling you how their team is successful and how they accomplish knocking out all these different super villains or whatnot. And it's really amazing. It is a monstrous premise. It is a phenomenal premise. So again, he goes to the save points, he has to relive it. So they don't have any memory of the times that they failed. They only know the time that they're successful. And as far as they're concerned, they roll up on something and they just kill it right immediately and everything's great. But what they're not realizing is that Saver is aging through this entire time. So they may go have an encounter that lasts 30 minutes, but he's gone through that encounter like, 20 times. And so he's actually aged 10 hours in the time that they've aged 30 minutes. And so he can have his save points going all the way back to, I guess, 30 years, I think is what they say. But he cannot skip forward. And so that's the basic premise. Now, I'm not really spoiling anything for you. It's pretty standard superhero fare. They actually defeat the villain and they find the culprit here and they take care of it. Now, what happens after this, though, is one hell of a killer hook for a plot line. Let me tell you what, you're going to want to read this. It is awesome. And I can't even there's nothing I can really tell you. If everything that I've just told you, you sit there and you can think about what could we do that would be awesome for a story, Matt Kent has already beat you to it. So his idea for this story is so far beyond anything I would have thought of. It is awesome. It is incredibly awesome. So here you go. You have Save Now, you've got Hank Howard, and if that was not enough, then after all of that, you actually have, a teaser for The Lot, which is another upcoming horror comic for Bad Idea. And then you've got Legitimate Beef. It's a character bio for a character that no one's ever seen, as far as I can tell. And it gives you like his whole entire backstory. And so it's like a little micro story. It's like a micro C story. So you've got, Hank Howard Pizza Detective A story. You've got Save Now B story, which is phenomenal. And then you've got The Legitimate Beef. I freaking love this comic book, right? I'm telling you right now, this actually may be my very favorite single comic book. This may be my very favorite ever single comic book because you've got 3 great stories. It's full of humor. There's no BS. There's no agenda. There's no nothing. The only agenda for Bad Idea and Robert Venditti and Matt Kent and all of their cohorts and colleagues, their only agenda is to give you a kick-ass comic book. And this is a kick-ass comic book. And I'll tell you what, you should go out and buy it right now. You should go to eBay right now. I'm not getting paid for any of this, okay? Full disclaimer, I'm not getting free copies of anything. I'm just telling you right now, as a comic book lover and as someone who's trying to create his own comic book, this is the template, all right? So, I've talked about the book. I've given you a review of the book. I'm telling you everything I can to get you to go out and buy the book. If you can afford to buy the book, buy it right now. It's pretty inexpensive and it's pretty affordable. Going forward, though, when they start slabbing these puppies and there's a finite amount of available stock for it, it's going to be very, very difficult to find. It's probably going to be very expensive. I know that when I went to the local shop, it was late in the day. They actually had about 30 or 40 of these books on the shelf, but they had to ship all those back to Bad Idea, any books that they didn't sell. So it was a golden opportunity. $1 for a comic book that I guarantee you is going to be valuable. If you are into buying comics for speculation purposes, this is the book you want. If you're into buying comics because you just love comics, this is the book you want. That being said, that's the whole story here. One of the funny things about this is that all the books that they put out could be characterized as bad ideas. So as an addendum to this video, this story here, a pizza detective being hired by a company, is a bad idea. It's a bad idea to be a corporate pizza detective. The Save Now is probably a bad idea as well. It's not something that you really want to do, having to relive everything over and over again until you get it right. That's a bad idea. So most of the comics that you actually can buy from Bad Idea have premises that are generally bad ideas for the people involved. So like for tankers, for example, they try to avert a meteor for the dinosaurs. That's a bad idea. And then ENIAC is they create a supercomputer to try to fight wars. That's a bad idea. So it's wonderful. All the bad ideas. And then there's The Lot coming up. It's a horror movie. It's a horror comic that's based upon somebody trying to buy a studio that had satanic rituals done on it. So again, a bad idea. So I think maybe one of the primary reasons why, or one of the primary methods for coming up with new content, a bad idea or new ideas for stories, is to think of bad ideas to do in real life. So bad idea. It's a funny comic company, and it's a fun comic company, and they do great things like this. So I'm a big fan. I'll tell you what. And of course, I've got a pull for everything bad idea, and if you have the ability to do so, you should do so too. So again, thanks for watching. This is Comics with Drew. I'm Drew, and I'll catch you next time.